Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you a great general purpose bunny build that's going to be strong in pretty much all content. So let's get into it. Okay, first I want to start things off by stating that while Bunny is not one of the strongest characters in the game, she can definitely be a force to reckon with the right build behind her. And this build is just what you're looking for in that regard. We're going to be taking full advantage of her 1 and her 3 for her amazing ability to mob, as well as switching to the Deus Ex Manus and using her 4 for the ability to take out bosses. So let's start where all builds do, and let's have a look at those modules. So first things first, let's talk about Bunny's abilities. First, Bunny's passive. Bunny's passive is electric charge. This means that as you run about the place, you will generate a static charge, which will be signified by the blue bar underneath Bunny's mana bar. It also means that when you double jump and land, you will do an electric nova around you. Now onto her first ability, her 1. Her 1 is Throw Bomb. Basically, this is a small arc of electric that jolts around to up to 12 enemies that also applies a small dot to them. This is going to be one of our bread and butters throughout this build, as you will be spamming this button a lot. The 2 is called Speed of Light, but I personally like to call it the Zoomies. Using this button, it will drain your mana, but it will also make you incredibly fast as you jolt around the battlefield. It will also increase the amount of static charge you gain in your passive. This ability is incredibly important and you're going to want it active pretty much 100% of the time. Now onto her third ability, Lightning Emission. This ability emits a pulse every 7 meters travelled that will damage all nearby enemies around you. It's one of those abilities that, while it doesn't do too much damage, it's going to be on 100% of the time, as there's no reason not to have it on, and damage is damage. And now onto her 4, Maximum Power. This ability drains your electric the longer you use it, but gains more power the longer you hold it. It used to be actually pretty weak, but ever since they buffed it a couple of patches ago, it's actually a very powerful ability now. Now that's the basic rundown of the character skills. Now let's talk about the module. The first module we're going to be using is Electric Charge. This doubles the base power of Bunny's jump ability, as well as when you hit 100 enemies with it, it will then do 5 times the damage that it otherwise would do. You can see the amount of current stacks at the bottom of your UI, just to the right of Bunny's 4. Next, let's have a look at the modules that are going to be buffing up our damage. We're going to be using Focus on Electric Amplification. I'm going to be running an Ancestor module because I have a pretty good roll on that one, but if you do not have a good Ancestor module for Bunny, feel free to use Fusion Amplification. But we're also going to be running after that Focus on Fusion. These mods are going to give Bunny a much needed damage boost and are going to be able to help her take out all those hordes of enemies. Next, our skills are going to need some range, so we're just going to be running Skill Expansion and Amplification Control to get some great range on our skills. And then, so we can spam the heck out of our skills, we're going to be running Nimble Fingers and MP Conversion. And last but not least, the utility. We're going to be running MP Collector to give us back mana, as if you run out of mana on Bunny, you are just pretty much dead in the water. And on top of that, we're also going to be running HP Amplification, because Bunny is incredibly squishy, and honestly, she needs all the help she can get in terms of HP. I would really not want to play her below around about 20k hit points, as you are really risking it. And for our trigger module, I'm going to be running Power Beyond. While Bunny cannot actually make use of the effect of Bunny Beyond, she will gain the base 15% bonus skill power. Now that the modules are out of the way, let's have a look at our weapons. We're going to be main-handing the Peacemaker, because honestly, you don't need a single skill on it, you're just going to be using it for the sprint speed, as Bunny cannot actually make use out of its ability. So, just stack the sprint speed buffs onto it, and call it a day for that one. And now, for your main weapon really, you're going to be using the Deus Ex Manus. This weapon is basically an absolute monster of a beatstick. When you eventually run out of mana and static electric, which will have happened every now and then, this is going to be what you're just going to use to beat the crap out of the boss with. With its monstrous stats, it makes mincemeat out of pretty much any boss in the game. And the modules we're going to be running for it are as follows. With these modules, we're pretty much going to be going all in on the weapon's critical hit and critical hit raw damage, but we will have some additional hits on the side. We're also going to be running general rounds charge improvement because the weapon does seem to have a little bit of problem with its ammo consumption because it does use high power rounds. But honestly, it doesn't matter too much because this weapon is really going to only be a fallback, and odds are when you're using this weapon, whatever in front of you is not going to be in front of you for very long. So there are our weapons. Now let's move on to reactors and components. For our reactor, we're going to be running a Tingling Mixture reactor with Fusion Skill Power Ratio boost, as well as Skill Cooldown and Electric Skill Power baked into it. This is going to be incredibly important because we want to get those cooldowns as low as possible, and we want as much Electric Skill Power as possible because we're not going to be relying on critical hit rate. For our components, you actually have quite a few options. You can run, as I have here, the 2 Ascending set with the 2 invader set. This will give great skill cost as well as increase your skill range, which is quite useful, especially since I'm using an ancestor module which reduces my skill range. Or you could use the Slayer set, which, while making you squishy at only 11k hit points, will give you that massive whopping 25% skill power increase. Or you could even go something a bit more interesting, such as 2-piece Ascending and 2-piece Supernova to give that electric skill power modifier and the skill cost reduction, which again would help out. This would also only, however, give you 14,000 hit points, but you actually have quite a few components to play with Bunny, so I would definitely advise people to play around with these and find one that you really like. But I personally like my base one that I had set up at first. Next, let's get into the arcade tuning. There's not really too much to say here. We're going to be taking the top right node for the extra electric power skill power reduction, and we're also going to be taking the bottom right node because it's going to give us additional skill power whenever we hit an enemy on both of those. We're also going to be taking this key node here for the additional skill power because honestly, Bunny needs, again, as I said before, all the help she can get for that skill power. And then the last thing to look at will be simply our doggo. We're going to be running the Slowy Sled Dog because honestly, the amount of mana he gives is actually really helpful. And it's not going to leave you wanting for mana because, as I've said before, if you do unfortunately run out with mana on Bunny, you're pretty much dead in the water. And that's pretty much the full build. So, let's see it in action, shall we? You know, I never understand this like 10-second lobby thing when you're doing it single player. Let's go! So, as soon as we get to the enemies, we're going to hit our 2, and mainly we're just going to spam our 1 and make sure our 3 is active. And just repeatedly jump. You're literally playing the bunny hopping bunny throughout this entire dungeon. The first wave dealt with almost. On to the next guys. There will be one of those razor guys. I always call them a razor claw. What actually are the names? Oh, they actually are called razor claws. Okay. This guy could be a little bit annoying to deal with depending, but honestly, if he gets annoying, just whack out the sword and we'll hit him a few times. Deal with these guys first. Let's get down to the sword. And he's dead. And this. Progress. Again, as soon as you get off your bike, make sure you hit your 2 and your 3. But as you can see, I'm literally just constantly spamming my 1 and just jumping, and everything around me is not alive for very long. One important thing to note with Bunny, and that I have heard a couple of people say, she can be quite hard to play on controller due to the fact that I have not played a controller, so I don't know how true this is, but apparently it is very... You press something along the lines of Y to jump, then you've got to press left trigger and the corresponding ability button, and then Y to jump again. It's very, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of the rubbing your head and tapping your belly at the same time type of deal, apparently, from what I've heard. And I forgot to have my 2 active because I'm good at this game. No, they hit me. Oh well, it happens. Every now and then you'll get hit from time to time, but that can't really be helped. That's just the nature of the game. You can't expect to play perfectly all the time. It is very satisfying just jumping into a horde of enemies and seeing Bunny's passive proc and you just see the entire horde die. There is something very satisfying about it. Like there, pretty much, where you just... They all spawned, I jumped and my passive was procced and they all just instantly died. I could probably have used the actual MI4 for that guy, but hey. If there are any particular enemies that just don't want to die, feel free to use your 4. Her 4 effectively doesn't really have a cooldown. This is one of the great things I like about Bunny, that you don't commit to anything with her skills. It's just, nothing really has a cooldown. So it's just use it if you feel it's the right thing for the situation and you don't really commit any major cooldown. Even like for example, her ult only has a 5-second cooldown, I believe, unless I'll show you against the boss. And then you just get the mana back, or the static back, shall I say, sorry, and just use it. The only time Bunny struggles, as I've said, or isn't fun to play, honestly, is when she runs out of mana. But I'm gonna be real, I think mana at this point is just an anti-fun mechanic, and I think games need to think of a way to get rid of it. Hey, cool, a season pass level. And I think games kind of just probably should start thinking of a way to get rid of mana. Because, especially something like Descendant, where it's more of a power fantasy game, mana is really kind of one of those things that just holds you back. Here he is, let's use that for. And you can see it's just basically melting his health bar. Do we get... yeah, just below health. Oh, I'm gonna get hit by this. No, that was really bad timing. But, as you see, we just do that again. Get rid of the tower. And then afterwards, I should just be able to ult him again once I've my full bar. There we go. And then this should be phasing to the next round. Get the health back, why not? This round is very free. Oh, this phase transition, not round, shall I say, is pretty much free with Bunny because she is able to take out these so quickly with her one. We can do that, and we'll get another bar, because thankfully when he puts down that silence field, it doesn't actually affect you while you're channeling a skill. So we can just pretty much ignore the silence field. Get him down to about half. Avoid that, or get hit by it, you know, whatever works for you. Let's get the health bar, and we'll go up and we'll just whack him a few times with our sword. As you can see, the sword absolutely melted him. What was the time? 5 minutes 51. It's not the fastest. It's a decent time in all fairness. 5 minute 51 is nothing to be disappointed with, and honestly, you saw me mess up a few times there. Oh, I got a bunny module. It's pretty bad. But hey. So there you have it. I hope you enjoy this build as much as I do. Like, comment, subscribe, and all the other YouTube algorithm stuff. And hopefully, I'll see you next time. Take it easy.